Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. For today, we're going to be jumping into another session of Epic 7. Now today, got some more summoning for you guys. That's right, jumping into this here, we're going to be going for Frida, and boy oh boy, she a highly anticipated unit for her skills. So we're going to go over her skills more in depth when we actually get her, and we'll get to use her, and of course her artifact is actually pretty good as well. Keep in mind she is a limited unit, so I do recommend that you summon for her, because the next time you get to try to go for her is probably in a year. Unfortunately here, we only have 300 bookmarks. I could go back and refresh more in the secret shop, but we'll just see what we can get with what we have for now before I torture myself some more with the shop there. And it looks like we're getting absolutely nothing in our first set of polls. Now fortunately I did break my curse of this year. I didn't actually pity on the last Mystic Banner, which is kind of nice, but my RGB banner luck is still going strong. And we've been pitying every single RGB banner this entire year. Hopefully we can get some luck, and perhaps we won't have to pity this time around. So let's see. Got a copy of Warriors, actually quite happy about that. Do need more copies, or do need more Powders of Knowledge, of course, to buy out the Seeker shop here. Oh, and here we go, a 5-star. Can it be Frida, please? I think that's Frida. Thank goodness, guys. We've done it. We've broken the curse on the Mystic Banner. We've broken the curse on the RGB banner. It only took about 8 months, but we pretty much pitied every single RGB unit this entire year. Up until now, Frida! I'm going to take this as a sign that things are going to go swimmingly. Alright, so no copy of her artifact, but that's perfectly fine. I'm stopping right here so that we can get it from the powder shop and then test her out in some arena. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and jump into our first showcase here. This time around, we're going to be using Frida into Bellion. That's right, going to Bellion here because Frida's been touted as this Bellion killer, right, before her release. Everyone's saying that she's going to destroy Bellion, Bellion's going to be useless, and it doesn't really seem to be the case from an analytical standpoint. Obviously, we have to wait and see how Frida plays out in the coming days and the coming weeks, but in general, Bellion still prevents you from acquiring souls, which is pretty big. Frida allows a free soul burn for herself in the frontline unit, which can be very impactful. I'm not dismissing that at all, but I'm just saying that Bellion still is going to have a place, especially in something like RTA. Now, if someone's playing aggro or cleave, Bellion is probably going to be pre-banned anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Frida's not going to make that big of an impact there. You might get a free soul burn out of it, but even in that case, a lot of cleave teams that use things like ML Ludwig were already stacking bunches of souls anyway, and there are a lot of viable mages that can hold Taga Hell's Ancient Book like Zio and Rekin, for example, so I don't think she's going to be as impactful as people think she's going to be, right? Not like game-breaking, but she is going to be pretty good. So going into my build here, I have her on a bit of bulk, 240 speed, and about 200 resistance. I say about because Soul Consolation does give her 30% extra resistance, and she's just on a 240-ish speed build. So if I open up with a faster opener and I decide to soul burn with them, then I can potentially cut with Frida and then push up the rest of my team, which is going to be pretty good. Now in this case, I'm going to be using New Moon Luna as the frontline unit. We're going to try to seal the entire enemy team here, just so Elena and stuff, you know, they can't proc and things. Not that I really have skills that can proc Elena, but you get the gist. We're using Midnight Galileulis and Watcher Shuri here into my opponents. Midnight Galileulis should be able to one-shot the Bellion, and then Watcher Shuri can come in and one-shot the Genoa, or whoever else I need to. He's really here for utility. Now, seeing this, okay, so we have this Oasis All Right pass, right? The frontline unit, whoever's in the front, and Frida herself will get this buff for a free soul burn. As you can see, no souls, and Bellion's on the other team, but we can still do this. And I'm gonna do it anyway, there's no reason not to. I know that the ML Politis is gonna be going right after us. I chose Watcher Shuri here because I can get a speed imprint, so there's a potential to outspeed my opponent here, and we did, which is nice. So look at that, Frida gets to cut and she takes the turn. And you see, she gets 100% combat readiness because I speed tuned the team. So Frida is at 240 speed because you could potentially take the turn, like 100% combat readiness, if your opener is like about 300 speed, right? Give or take a little bit. So New Moon Luna with the speed imprints about 300 speed, just like 298. So Frida gets the cut, and now we get to push up the team. So we did outspeed here. Even if ML Politis had gone, it shouldn't have mattered all too much, because in that case there, we would have been able to push up with Soul Constellation with Frida, and we still would have been able to take the turn. So it's pretty good, right? So I am a slower player in general. For those of you guys newer to the channel and you're expecting cleaves and stuff with Frida, it's not really going to happen here. I do like to showcase new units that come out in the best way that I can, and I am a huge believer that units are very flexible in this game, so you can build them to kind of suit your needs. Right, so in this case here, we are going to be taking Frida into like a standard team. We're kind of building a standard team around her, and I think I have to kill this Genoa, or else I'm gonna die to the Elena cleansing. So yeah, let's go ahead and just kill the Genoa. This didn't really go according to plan. I thought Midnight Galilius was gonna kill the Bellion, but that did not happen. A little sad, but that's quite alright. So C-Fan and Politis is gonna go, and we see the Soul Constellation kicking in. Look at that, Frida's gonna be just fine there. So Elena gets to go, boom, get that cleanse. Don't really like that. Now the good thing from Frida is that she actually gets a free soul burn here. I could dispel a debuff from all allies and grant a barrier for 2 turns. So she doesn't heal in her kit. Her S3 also has a cleanse, so there's no innate healing, but it's quite alright. We can still go for we can still go for this and just cleanse here. So if you soul burn, it turns into this barrier cleanse situation, right? If you just S1, you'll push up the next person in line's combat readiness by up to 15%. So there you go. Got the barriers, help protect the team a little bit, and now we're just going to try to finish off this Bellion here. So yeah, this team is pretty good. I mean, you can substitute Minika, Lilius, Watcher, Shuri for whoever you'd like. I don't really have any speed DPSs, so it's kind of hard for me to cleave. And it's hard for me to play aggressively because the speed DPSs I do have tend to have some AoEs in them. So going up against Elna, kind of had to adapt a little bit, right? But you're seeing how Frida can potentially work in a slower team. I think it's pretty cool. And we're going to experiment with the other... I shouldn't have done that. We're going to experiment with the other arena showcase matches here very soon with Frida in different team comps and potentially how we can play even slower, play even tankier, and use her as a support unit in different ways, right? So we'll just have to finish... Oh god, this Ellen is so annoying. Okay, let's just hope that this kills. Nice. And now I think we pretty much got this now. Right, see the new Luna getting pushed up there with the combat readiness. Oh god, I can already see she is going to be super annoying to fight against in certain situations because turn cycling is kind of king right now in the game. So there you go, finished off the first match. Let's go ahead and find our second opponent. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and jump into our second match over here, going up against Navy Captain Landy, ML Senya, Bellion, and ML Politis. So Bellion I've been trying to avoid on defense teams, however it is really difficult. Went through several battles trying to refresh and stuff and find new fights, but Bellion's still pretty common. So it's not bad because we do need to continue testing Frida into Bellion. This time around, still using New Moon Luna as the frontline unit. I am using Zahak as my main DPS and Blitik as a support DPS. The reason I'm using Zahak is, as you can see on the right side, pretty much anything above Zahak is not a damage dealer. Zahak is literally my fastest damage dealer that I have. And then Blitik over here, she is going to be pretty decent as well. She's like 264 speed. So she'll be able to like one-shot the Navy Captain Landy, and we don't really have to care if Navy Captain Landy is behind the Dragon Bride Senya, because we will seal with the ML Luna. We're going to ignore Res too. Right? So going to the turn order here, New Moon Luna should be going first because she won't get pushed back by the Frida here. And my Frida might be cutting my New Moon Luna, it really depends. Oh, nope, not at all. So there you go. My opponent's speed was pretty fast, faster than 300 something speed. So yeah, Frida wasn't able to really cut, and that's because it's not her passive. She does gain combat readiness based on her passive. Soul Constellation at 240 speed, you're not cutting a 300 speed opener, right? So do keep that in mind. If you really want to reliably do that, you have to have a speed like my DJB, so 260 something plus. But it's really hard to get that speed while keeping some bulk for a slower player like me. So you want Frida to survive, right, and turn cycle your team. You can't really accomplish that if you make her too fast, and then she really can get taken out super early on. So we're going to go ahead and soul burn the new Luna. We're going to go ahead and push up the team, attack buff on Zahak here. I technically don't need to use his S2 right now. So I'm going to save it for potentially needing to cleanse later. I could go after a Navy Captain Landy, but I think it's probably best for me to injury somebody down first. Let's go for the... I think it's best to go for the Bellion here. How about that? I know Dragon Bride Sandy is going to be coming in, but we do have an invincibility on Zahak here. There we go. Technically, you can bring any unit in place of Zahak. I didn't really want to go for another Lilius, so that's the reason why I chose Zahak here. So let's go ahead and kill the Navy Captain Landy. And after that, I'm pretty sure this is over, because we still have some damage on board, right? And the Bellion is quite low, and she's injury down. So gonna go for the new Moon Luna. That's actually perfectly fine, because she is quite tanky. There you go. Now we're talking. So New Moon Luna's gonna go, and we can hit the Bellion. Seal doesn't stop the counter set from blocking, so Bellion could still potentially, yes, there you go, do her shenanigans here. But I think we'll be fine, right? We can try to stun this Dragon Bride Senya. Perfect. And I could use the Soul Burn here, just to kind of protect the team a little bit, get that barrier going. Very nice. There is a buff on my opponent, so going for a Soul Burn with Zahak would deal extra damage, as you can see. We finish off the Politis, so we don't have any shenanigans going on with her in dual attacks. And now we pretty much just finish off the Dragon Bride Senya. So yeah, you can still use her in a pretty aggressive team, obviously. It's like kind of the purpose of her, right? You'd use her in a faster paced team here, or a tempo team like what I have. You could technically cycle a bit better if you had Midnight Galilius, because she has that combat readiness push, but you can see she's doing quite well, and I am not a fast player, and I don't really have really awesome speed units either, so it's working out quite well. Now for the later examples, we're definitely going to be playing slower. We're going to see how she works in a more standard type of team. Alright, going into the third match over here, my opponent has a pretty tanky standard team. Crimson Armin, Navy Captain Landy, Bunny Dom, and DDR. So it's a pretty slow team, and we're going to go in with a pretty non-aggressive team too. So we have Emma Bologna to counter the Navy Captain Landy, something you'd see pretty often in RTA. We have Empyrean Ilanov to kind of mitigate some damage coming in from Landy's at potential S3 if she survives that long. I don't think she will, because we're going to give Soul Burns to Bologna, and we're going to see how well she does into this Navy Captain Landy here. We also have Dragon King Sharoon to help defense break the opponent's team, right, kind of strip their buffs and everything, and also to counter the DDR. Frida, I actually switched her over to her own artifact. The reason I did this is because it gives us 10 souls, and that allows Emma Bologna to repeatedly soul burn on each of her turns, because she only requires 10 souls to soul burn, and her S1 hits quite hard. So we'll see how this plays out here. We also have attack buffers in the form of Frida, so we don't really need something like Bunny Dom, for example, which would also be a good counter to DDR. I didn't want to use Bunny Dom here just because my opponent had Bunny Dom, and if I'm trying to replicate something in RTA, really don't want to have a mirror match of a unit. It wouldn't seem really realistic. So yeah, DDR is gonna go, push up the team, that's all good. Dragon King Sharoon's gonna go, and look at this beautiful speed tuning here. So we're gonna go and strip everything, push everybody back, hopefully. Hopefully, oh, there we go. At least we hit the Navy Captain Landy and Defense Broker. So Frida gets to go now, and we get to S3. I want that attack buff, and I want that combat readiness boost, right? Look at where the Emma Bologna is. She is going to get pushed up. I know Crimson Armin's quite quick here, but we're going to hopefully cut her. There we go. And we could actually just go for this Navy Captain Landy here. I just want to see what Bologna can do, though. We have free Soul Burns anyway. So I'm going to try to go for the Bunny Dom here. Let's go for a little S3 action. I don't want to hit the Crimson Armin. She unfortunately didn't get stripped by any buffs. Any of her buff strips, so she still has that anti-crit, and I don't want to contend with that. But no, look at that. Pretty decent damage, right? So I can go for a Soul Burn here, and look at this. Look at that, just easy stuff, guys. Now that used the free Soul Burn, you see now we still have a ton of souls here, which is good stuff. Unfortunately, we can't really control the opponent's side with any debuffs, because they have immunity. Not that we really have any control skills, now that I think about it. besides Dragon King Sharoon's S1, I guess. But let's try to chip down the Bunny Dom. Yeah, DDR really can't do all that much right now, so we'll go ahead and kill the Bunny Dom off. And now look at the souls that we have here. We're not even going to use Bellona's S3. And we're just going to keep smacking down these units. So there we go. Very nice. Got that cleanse there. And Bellona should have an S2 coming out. So yeah, look, we have a plethora of souls in a kind of standard v standard matchup. Because you get to save souls and actually use the soul burns on any units that you want, you actually get to utilize your units their full potential here. Look at this, I can even soul burn the Ilanov, get the extra damage going. And just go for an S3 here. If we get defense break, we should be able to finish things off with Bellona herself with one more soul burn. Ah, there we go, beautiful. So yeah, let's not do. Actually, we could. I mean, look, it's free, right? Why not? Why not? Wretched excess, and then just keep soul burning her S1. 20k damage with every hit. It's pretty scary, right? It's not too shabby at all. Alright guys, so going into the fourth little match here, we have a Ron that's going to be opening on the opponent's side, so we're going to kind of utilize that to our advantage, and we're just going to bring like a sort of anti-cleave team comp. We'll see how this works out. Frida does allow Ed to soul burn his S3, which allows him to turn cycle quite well. The debuffs coming in, A Tywin's going to cleanse some of them, Ed's going to be able to be fully debuff free as well, because if both debuffs land on Ed, he's going to cleanse one, A Tywin's going to cleanse one, and I think we're going to be good. I move Frida back to Soul Constellation just so she can cut this Ron potentially and like go after him, because none of the other units are really following up here, so that we can potentially S3. Now I'm gonna hold off on it because of course there is a Celine on the other side, but yeah, currently his entire team is it has immunity from Ron, but they also have barrier from what I assume to be a protection set from the Bellion or something. So let's see what happens. Oh, there we go. Good. Stripped everything from the opponents. Look at this. Ed actually cuts. That's really nice. So now we get to soul burn, and I could just do this for free. So we could just finish off the Celine, and I mean, I guess we're good to go after that, right? If we can kill the Celine here, we are looking real good. Yeah, so 2-turn cooldown reduction. I can go for an S3. We can kind of cleanse the Albedo's defense break. And then we can push up the Tywin as well. So Tywin gets to go, and look at that. Look at the speed tuning here. Look at Ed, right? Getting that combat readiness. He's going to come up really quick, and now we can go in S3. I think this won't really matter because Ron is going to get the shield from the Senya here. But that's fine because we are still defense breaking the Bellion, and that's still pretty big. So Bellion's already defense broken. I don't know if I really need to attack the Bellion. Let's go ahead and just hit the Ron. Alright, so now would this team work actually into an actual cleave team? Probably not. They probably have better speed tune units than this, but I'm just showing you like what you could potentially do, right? With in terms of like using Ed or some other unit like that has a 10 soul soul burn. Actually, sorry, not 10 soul soul burn, but Ed, that's somebody that can like kind of turn cycle, right, with Frida and stuff. Because his soul burn gives him 50%, or sorry, his S3 gives him 50% combat readiness, and his soul burn gives him reduced cooldown. So let's go ahead and just kill the Ron here. We actually almost got cleaved anyway by this Senya, which is insane. Let's go ahead and give a barrier. Alright, there we go. So now we're safe for a little bit here. Itama might die, but that's quite alright. It's a sacrifice we're willing to make. And we should be able to finish off the Bellion. Look at this. Ed already has his S3 back up. Let's heal from hitting the Bellion. We can turn cycle as well here because we're on Golden Rose. So get some nice little healing, and we're pretty much done now. We just got to take care of this Senya before she kills Frida. So hopefully we'll be able to do that relatively quickly here. Now, again, the downside of Frida is that in an extended match, there's really not much utility that her passive gives, right? She has an S1 that can push, and she can cleanse if you soul burn it, but after those initial couple turns, you don't really see much use out of her. And it's fitting for people who, you know, are going to be using her in aggro or cleave teams, but in standard v standard matchup, she's, again, not going to be super impactful. You could argue that there's better options out there, but again, I'm still just testing this for the sake of testing it, but I think she does have her uses and her times to shine, right? My opponent's team was relatively aggressive. There's a lot of damage. In fact, we almost died to just a Dragon Bride Senya there by herself. It was an insane amount of damage. But yeah, that was pretty cool in terms of her utility with Ed in that match. Really allowed him to shine. Alright guys, so for the next little showcase here, I actually found a random Cleave team on defense, which is really rare, but we have Ron, Cecilia, BBK, and Wanderer Silk. The Wanderer Silk's probably there for a speed imprint. She also has a pretty good skill set too, being able to dual attack and push someone's combat readiness back all the way down to 0. But yeah, let's go ahead and use this team and see what we can do. Elena's currently on Doctor's Bag, so her with a Tywin here, we should be able to full cleanse the team after Ron goes. My Elena's not fast enough to actually cut the Cecilia and stuff, but we'll see if we can manage with a slower counter Elena. We have Frida back on the Soul Constellation because I want to be able to push up when Ron S2s, so we'll see how that works out. And then of course we have Bryceria here. I'm using Bryceria because there's a BBK on the other side, and I really want to be able to Soulweaver my Bryceria to ignore res. Now Frida is pretty nice to use in place of an actual book holder, right? So not having a mage on your team is not going to be terrible in this situation. We'll see what happens. Cecilia, as you can see, is going to cut my Frida, so it is going to suck a little bit here, but Elena does get to heal and cleanse, which is kind of nice. Cecilia is going to push up the whole team. There you go. We're still going before BBK though, so it's not too big of a deal, as long as of course Frida doesn't get, okay, Frida didn't get bombed. In fact, Elena got bombed, so that's fantastic. We do cleanse it though. Very nice little clutch counter. Even if it wasn't cleansed, I think it would have been fine. Wanderer Silk not able to debuff us because we have quite a bit of resistance, and now the fun begins. So yeah, let's go ahead and see what we can do. Obviously, this is not like a super viable strat or anything, but seeing the BBK here, I want to see what we can do when our opponent is gets immortality, right? I want to be able to see if I can use Bryceria here in a reliable fashion into stuff like this. So let's go ahead and soul burn this. It'll ignore res. Hopefully we apply the unbuffable here, and it should strip everything. Very nice. So there you go. And then we can just rip an S3, and this should finish off the BBK. We weren't strong enough with Bryceria to fully one-shot the BBK by ourselves, but yeah, there you go. Otherwise, if we can get her down to 0, the immortality will proc, and then Bryceria's extra damage comes out, and then we get to see a one-shot there. But Bryceria, even with the attack buff, was just a little bit short, but that's not the fault of Frida. That's just my build, unfortunately. Alright guys, for the last showcase over here, we're going to be trying to use a pretty fun team into what is a pretty disgusting defense. We got Numa Luna, Bellion, ML Senya, and Genoa on defense. So into this team, we're still using Frida. We're going to be using her with Arya here, actually giving her the ability to soul burn, take an extra turn, and kind of turn cycle her if needed, right? If needed, that's the key thing. You don't actually have to use the soul burn right away, which is kind of cool. But yeah, now going into this here, I do have Riza, because I think she's going to be pretty fun into this, protecting the Arya, mitigating some of the damage that she takes, and then we have Imperial Ilanov, just in case Genoa decides to crit on his S1's extra attack, right, or his S3, and so Arya won't just straight up implode. So let's see what happens. We also have Frida's barrier that we can use to replenish our barrier if we get hit by AoEs, so that our entire team doesn't get hit out of Arya's stealth, right? Stealth provided is pretty good. So one thing I forgot to mention here is that Frida's actually not on Soul Constellation. You'll see here she actually doesn't jump up in combat readiness, but what I have her on is a Doctor's Bag. So Doctor's Bag dispels a debuff once every 3 turns, and her S3 also does that as well. So by using Doctor's Bag with her, we can dispel 2 debuffs at the start of the battle like this, and see, fully cleanse the Ilanov. Now, unfortunately, the Doctor's Bag cleansing the unbuffable doesn't give the Ilanov the attack buff, but that's not a huge deal. Let's go ahead and S3 here. Now, S3 is pretty good. We can actually dispel all buffs, decrease combat readiness by 50%, and grant immunity for 2 turns, and exploiting weakness to the caster and the person in the front line. So Riza is pretty fun. Let's see if we can get the Bellion to get, like, kind of pushed back a little bit. I really don't want this Bellion taking the turn. So, now we did do a lot of damage. She did resist. Now, unfortunately, it didn't really do what I wanted it to do, which was to kind of defense break her and like push her back, but we got rid of the immunity, which is still good enough. I can come in with an S3. This will actually give Arya a bunch of not resistance, a little bit of resistance, but a bunch of defense as well. So let's go for this. Right, Indomitable on, I mean, I technically didn't have to use Frida on her the doctor's bag, I just used it as a demonstration here. I thought more people would get debuff, but we didn't. The main thing with Frida, though, is that even if I didn't have her on doctor's bag, the Ilanov would have been able to cleanse both the seal and the unbuffable. But yeah, oh, look at that, Genoa dealing absolutely nothing there. So Senya's gonna proc, it's all good. It's gonna be an AoE and it's gonna kind of suck, it's gonna deal damage. Quite a bit of damage, but thankfully we're all in stealth. It's going to cut that damage by half, and we do have a barrier which is going to mitigate a little bit of it. So Arya comes in with the extra attack. Let's see if this kills Bellion too. I'd be kind of happy if it does. Oh, nice, beautiful stuff. So unfortunately didn't kill the Genoa, but I think we're still okay. So he's going to push up the Genoa here. Oh, good, nobody got hit out of stealth. Good stuff. And we actually ended up killing the Genoa before he takes a turn, so that's actually pretty funny. Just keep injuring down this what's her face, ML Senya right there, and look, Frida can now replenish the barrier on the team. We're still in stealth, right? This keeps us very nice and healthy in stealth, so it's these cute little combos and interactions you can do with these units that really makes Frida shine, right? I'm just trying to give you guys ideas of where you can potentially use her, or, you know, team compositions you can potentially use. Obviously, you can substitute units in and out, like, you don't have to use Riza. I just like Riza, and she's built pretty nicely. I want to show her off. And there you guys go. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Frida in the comment section down below. Is she really going to be game-breaking, as people say? Or is she just going to be a nice little quality of life addition to people trying to climb an arena or potentially do their guild wars? Anyway, with that being said though, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.